Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining NSDA's webinar series in 2026. Today's going to be really interesting, and we do have a small group, so we're going to be able to tailor this to you all. The first thing we'd love you to do is put in the chat what district you're from and what region, what state you're from, so we can get to know you, and that will help with the presentation because the team at Gridbase is going to work with you to make sure we are answering your questions and everything. So I'm Chantal, I'm with NSDA, and let me turn it over quickly because you don't really want to hear from me, but Derek and Riley are going to take over this webinar, and we'll have a great time, and I'll help facilitate if there are questions. I'll keep an eye on the chat. So there you go.
Great. Thanks, Chantal.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I'm joined by Riley, who heads up our operations team here at Gridbase. We're excited to be with you here this morning to talk about mapping, which seems to be a common theme across special districts we work with all over the country, including all sorts of forms of local government that we work with: cities, counties, special districts, school districts. So today we really want to just kind of talk about maximizing our mapping so you see everything and miss nothing. And so let's dive in. I'm going to kick us off here this morning or afternoon for some of you with just a quick introduction of who I am. I'm Derek, CEO over at Gridbase. Here's my contact information just so everybody has it. You can scan the QR code if you are interested in what we are building and what we're doing and how we help special districts. But we serve all sorts of special districts: water districts, to park districts, to metro districts, mosquito districts, all over the country to help them with their mapping. And really, when we say mapping, we'll dive into this a little bit later today, is really just around knowledge in centralizing our data sets so that we can utilize and maximize the mapping capabilities across your district. So just a quick little blurb about me. I live in Minnesota with my high school sweetheart Jen, alongside my three kids, Bryn, who's 12, Blake, who's 10, and my little dude Jet, who's 8. My family is my why, and we try to spend as much time together as possible, preferably outside, although Minnesota gets very, very cold for those of you who have never been here. But there's this thing with having quality time with your kids, and our family just kind of takes a different approach, and it's the quantity of time that we spend with our kids. So we really just try to be together as much as possible. A lot of outdoor activities, a lot of activities with sports, volleyball, soccer, football, basketball. Love to travel together and basically just spend as much time together as possible. Outside of my family, I'm the CEO of Gridbase and have been leading teams for a long, long portion of my career, and have been in the mapping world here for the last several years, leading this organization. When I first stepped into Gridbase, I didn't realize how much we all use mapping day to day. And I want to just call out a couple examples because obviously we have Google Maps and wayfinding and getting you from point A to point B, but mapping and GIS are used in a lot of other areas as well. You have weather forecasting, you have package delivery. For those of you who have used Uber, ride sharing is all built off of mapping and GIS. Your real estate sites like Zillow, all based off of GIS and mapping. Tesla full self-driving, a lot of AI, but it's also built off of GIS and understanding where things are located so the car can drive itself. So I'm excited to dive in today and just talk about digital mapping and how districts can maximize your maps. So a little bit about Gridbase. We're a digital mapping company that focuses on just streamlining operations across special districts and local government and school districts by giving tools and technology to help manage assets, help with streamlining and automating maintenance, inventory, citizens or constituents, requests that are coming through. So think about, potholes, or hey, well, there's a water leak here, or there's roadkill. We have tools to help bring all that into one system of record to help with just centralizing data and maximizing that data set for daily operations. We do this through a couple of different ways, both mapping derived. We have an outdoor mapping solution So think points, lines, polygons, fire hydrants, utility poles, water lines, water valves, anything above and below ground, our systems used to help track and manage and map that. So, you might drive home today and drive by a few hundred fire hydrants and never think anything about them. But there's a lot of people that really care about that fire hydrant and work on that fire hydrant every day. They need to know the condition, when it was installed, what's its expected life, what's the flow, what's the pressure. Because if there's a fire in a neighborhood, we want to ensure that that hydrant can put that fire out. And so our software really helps with managing all of that. And then we have a platform that's really focused on indoor mapping. And so we're able to take a lot of the knowledge we have with outdoor and managing about 50 million assets across our customer base and build a new platform that's really focused on helping districts and school districts and local government map everything inside. So what our software does is we can take static data, PDFs, floor plans, blueprints, hand drawings, paper, and convert them into 2D and 3D interactive models of buildings, and then allow our users to track and manage all their assets, where they're located, asset life cycle, financial data on their assets, make, model, manufacturer. And then we've built on all of our maintenance, inspections, work orders, everything on top of that to help with indoor as well. So today, with maximizing our maps, we're going to talk just about a few different things. We're going to talk about where your data is stored now, uh, talk about a mapping foundation. How do we create a living record? Because maps can't just be a one-time project. They have to be something that's living and breathing across your district. And then just a practical path forward, depending on where you're at in your mapping journey and where you're at with your district, just giving you a couple practical steps to just get started with digital mapping. So before we talk about mapping and software, I want to just ask a question for you to think about in your head. Where is your infrastructure knowledge stored today? I'm not talking about your GIS system. I'm not talking about your maps, not your CMMS. I mean the real knowledge, where every valve is, which valve needs to be turned one extra time, which hydrant's been out of service for the last 2 years, but nobody's been able to update that record.
I think it's usually the person who is about to retire who's been there for 50 years and has it in their head.
Yeah, yeah, and that's really the case, right? We talk with special districts and customers every week, tons and tons of customers that are all kind of dealing with the same issue, which is for most of them, the honest answer to that question is it's in somebody's head, or maybe it's in a paper binder in a filing cabinet, or maybe a CAD file from 2004 that only one engineer who happens to be retired now knows how to open, or you have it in a system that just doesn't work super great. And if you're really honest, it's probably a combination of all of these things, and none of them talk together. So each district has that person, the one that's been there for 20 years, who can walk out in the field and tell you exactly where something is buried without looking at a map because they installed it themselves and they've been the ones to maintain it. That person is super, super valuable to your district, but they're also very risky to your district as well. And to Chantel's point, what happens when that person takes another job, or they're out sick, they have an emergency, they're on vacation, or when they retire? And a staggering stat that not a lot of people realize is that the boomer generation by 2030, every person part of that generation will be at retirement age. It's a lot of people. There's thousands and thousands of people hitting retirement age every single day. And within the next 3.5 years, every person in that generation will be at retirement age. And so I want to just give you a couple real life examples around infrastructure knowledge. Monday night, I attended a council meeting for a city in Texas. And the public works director was sharing why she wanted to bring our software into her city. And she shared a specific example of a water main break that happened at 5 p.m. the week before. And her team was out working in the field until 5 a.m., 12 straight hours. But when they first arrived, they spent just so much time trying to figure out where everything was, including the valve. And so every minute she spent searching for the shutoff valve is water damage and costs her city additional dollars. I also recently spoke with the school district, and he said, we are 40 years behind. We have paper maps, paper work orders, paper documentation, paper, paper, paper. And then he said something that stuck with me even more. People on my team have been here 30 years and will be leaving in the next couple of years. And that's the real problem that special districts and local government and school districts are facing all over the country. It's not just paper, it's everything, that knowledge, that infrastructure knowledge of those folks when they walk out the door. So I want to reframe what we mean by like mapping. When most districts hear that word, they think GIS, right? A specialized system, a separate skill, a project that lives in that one department. Some of you might feel like, hey, we can't even do GIS because we're short-staffed or budgets are being squeezed. But I want you to think about it just a little bit differently. The map isn't a standalone thing, it's the foundation of everything else that sits on top of it across your district. So let's start with just the GIS and asset data, right? This is your locations, your boundaries, your asset attributes. So your age, material, install date, condition of that asset. That data has always existed. The problem is it lives in the system where only one or two people know how to open it, or it lives in somebody's head. And your maps are what turns that data into something specialized, into something anyone on your team can actually see, but then also use. Now let's connect work orders to our assets and our maps. Every time a crew repairs a valve or services a panel, that maintenance history should live on the map tied to an asset, not buried in a separate ticketing system or in a spreadsheet somewhere or another place that nobody cross-references. And then when your field teams are out, right? This is where the work either works or your maps fall apart. If updating the map means going back to the office and opening a specialized software or jotting some notes down on a piece of paper, typically doesn't happen. Then your maps go stale. Every day, every week, every month, they become staler and staler. If your crew can update it from their phone or a tablet standing right next to the asset, it stays current, living, because you're updating is the workflow of how they operate day to day and not just a separate task. If we jump over to inspections, inspections feed the same loop. Every inspection is a chance to confirm the record on your maps, the condition of your assets, the location, any notes on that asset. Over time, that turns your map from a one-time snapshot into the living, breathing documentation for your district. If we jump over to capital planning, pull back and just look at capital planning. I think there's a huge, huge problem in local government, in special districts, with the infrastructure data we have in the capital planning that's taking place. When you can bring your capital planning and asset data together, it becomes something that you can actually budget for and not guess. Right? A lot of times that data, we work with cities. We had a call a couple of weeks ago with the city in Wisconsin, and they have their finance teams doing capital planning and asking Public Works for more information. And then Public Works has basically the most expensive pieces that drive the capital planning, but they don't talk to each other. It's all guesswork. And so we're working with them to get a lot of that capital planning data in about their assets so that they can plan 5 years, 10 years down the road to know what they need to replace and what they need to budget for. Jumping over to compliance and audits, when somebody asks you to document a critical asset, you're pulling from one accurate source instead of piecing together what's left in somebody's inbox or in those spreadsheets. And here's the point I'm trying to make with digital maps connecting everything. None of these six things are separate problems across districts. They're six symptoms of the same root cause. A map that isn't current, data that isn't centralized and isn't accessible to the people doing the work. If you fix the map, you're not just fixing one department's problem, one person's problem, you're fixing all of these categories at once. So if the map is the foundation everything connects to, my next question to you is, how do you keep it accurate? Because a map that's correct once and never touched again is isn't foundation. It's just a snapshot, and you want that living, breathing record across your district. And so there's a big difference between a map and a living record. A map is something you create, a living record is something that updates itself as a byproduct product of how your team actually works. And if updating a map is a separate task somebody has to do or remember to do, it just won't happen. And it's not because your team's lazy, but it's because everyone is so busy, and maintenance always loses to whatever is urgent that day. Here's what a living record actually could look like in practice for your district. One of your field techs goes out to fix a valve. While they're on their phone, they confirm the location, note the condition, maybe flag something that doesn't match what's on record. That update, because you're using software, happens instantaneously. They did the work order, they updated their records, it's documented. That map in your centralized map gets more accurate every time somebody does their job, instead of staying accurate only when somebody remembers to go out and do it. This is how districts end up with that 2004 CAD file that nobody trusts anymore. It wasn't wrong day one, it was actually right, it just never got touched again. Every year that passes without updates, the gap between what's on the map and what's actually in the ground gets wider, and nobody notices until an emergency forces them to find out the hard way. And this matters just beyond being up to date. If your team doesn't trust the map, they've been burned once by the wrong valve location, they stop using it and go back to relying on other sources. A living record pays off when people actually use it and believe that the data is accurate. And the data only gets accurate and more accurate the more we use it and make it part of our day-to-day workflows. So the goal really isn't with mapping to just check the checkbox that, hey, we have digital maps and a digital record of our infrastructure. It's to build a record that gets a little bit more accurate every day, just because your team's out doing their jobs. We work with a lot of cities, a lot of districts who are like, hey, we have data all over the place. We don't really know what's accurate. And I always challenge them of like, if you think 20% of your data is accurate, when you leverage the right technology and you spend a little bit of time, this stuff doesn't take a ton of time. You spend a little bit of time updating it day by day by day with the right technology, the right processes in place, because systems can work within your workflows. A year from now, you could be at 50%. 2 years from now, you could be at 80% accuracy. But if you don't start today and care about pulling the data together, you'll never end up at that 80% accuracy rate, right? And so, no matter where you're at in your journey, we see it all. We work with districts who have paper maps that are just stapled to the wall. They want those digitized and get built into a system that they can update. They have stuff from years and years ago that they don't know if it's accurate. We have some districts who have really great data, but they just need better, more modern workflows so that they can utilize that data day to day. I just want to remind you, wherever you're at in your journey, it's just important to get started today. Build the data, have the map be the centralized foundation for how you operate, how your teams work, because there is a lot of power in having that accurate data. You might retire, your team's going to retire. What's the legacy you're leaving the next generation of workers? If you were to step in your role and you had everything in a system that you could operate day one with accuracy and workflows built, probably would have made your job easier. So the legacy and the challenge to you is, do you want to leave and pay that forward to the next generation of workers? And so I want to pause, Chantel. I don't know if there's any questions. I know I've just like talked for 15 minutes. Would love this to be interactive, but I can't see anybody on the other end. But curious, before we dive into our software and some of the things, just kind of show you lay of the land of how we're able to help districts. Just curious if where people are at in their mapping journey. Anyone willing to add to the chat, kind of like where they're at, things they're thinking about.
And Miss Hendrickson is from the South Davis Sewer District in Utah. So how about you? Is it Lenice? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Okay, well, while they're thinking about one, you go ahead. Oh, okay. So yes, we use a GIS-centric asset management program for our horizontal assets. Well, I
Okay,
know that
that's
this
good.
was a really big deal during the lead line replacement program that came out,
Yeah,
and I was working for the state of Colorado at the time, and we were really lobbying hard on the descriptions, the notice of funding availability to allow for mapping and the scoping first before just replacing, because so many local governments did not really have all of the data they needed to know what was underground. For the same reasons you said, Derek, it was, something put in 50 years ago,
right.
and nobody really knew it was there anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they're looking at moving into vertical assets into in our treatment plants.
It's great. It's a really good step. So you're in a good spot. You have GIS. I think the challenge for you is how do you continue to keep that data updated, and then how do you build that into your day-to-day workflows, right? To ensure that the systems in place, processes in place, just become part of the standard job, and not just like this separate thing that feels like clunky and a slog and hard to use to keep that data updated. So let me share a couple of different platforms for you here. I'm going to jump over right here and share. So I want to just kind of walk through our outdoor mapping capabilities just to kind of show the folks on the call what I mean by tracking and managing things. So you can see here it's a demo environment, but we have a lot of different things that we're tracking. We have cities that'll track, obviously your standard, water, your sewer, your parks, whatnot. But we have folks who will track things like trees, right? Tree condition, when it was planted, all of that. It's really fascinating as you start to get into the intricacies of what matters to districts. But with our software, you're able to style everything so every layer can be configured to your liking. So if we take a hydrant layer, for instance, we can style it with different fields. We can do visualization of, based off of different attribute fields. So if it's paint conditions poor, it'll change the visualization of that icon to pink. If it's fair, it'll change it to orange. We see this a lot with streets. Of being able to do that, you're able to configure every field down to the asset layer. So obviously hydrants, you want to track things like make, model, rate flow, date last flush, but on your lines, you don't need to track those same things necessarily, right? You're going to be tracking type and length and depth and all that. With software, not just ours, but modern day software, you're able to configure that to your liking based in again, meet you where you're at with how you work and the things that matter most to your district. So if I jump over to this, hydrant, for instance, you can see that we have the asset management capabilities here. We have our make, so I can change this, save it, super easy. We can add our flow, save it. What our system's doing is we have a history log, so any change that's ever been made to the asset, it's timestamped by who did it. You can attach pictures, you can attach videos, documentation, again, centralizing the data in one system. So your folks out in the field and your administrative staff have everything in one spot, so you don't have to go look in a shared drive, emails and spreadsheets and PDFs. And then we make it really easy to continuously, make these updates to these maps. So for instance, if we wanted to move, I will say we have the easiest, most intuitive software on the market to update your GIS and mapping data out in the field. You can see that I was able to update the location of that particular asset by just clicking a button. You can utilize GPS and geolocation out in the field to do the same thing from the mobile device, integrate with Bluetooth receivers. So a lot of really great workflows there. From a work order standpoint, very straightforward, right? How do we build this into our workflow? We have different templates of things that can be built out, but let's say we want to flush a hydrant, we can assign this to one person or a team or many people on our team and create it. When that happens, you can see a little wrench appears, and that will then say flush the hydrant, text, email, in-app notification went to all those folks for them to go flush a hydrant. So when I'm out in the field, mobile device, I'm showing the desktop version here. Uh, I completed it, I saved it, work order's done. So the system will document all of that for you. So just want to give a quick example a modern day tool that's super intuitive. We have thousands and thousands of users across 37 states that use our software every day because it is intuitive. It's not clunky. It works within the way you work as a team. And then I want to jump over to more the vertical asset side of things and show you Gridbase really quick. We are adding outdoor capabilities to Gridbase in our indoor platform here. Right now, it's all based off of vertical assets and facilities, but soon we'll have a little let me move this Zoom thing here. But on the left-hand nav bar here, we'll have, your maps will actually take you to outdoor mapping. We'll have full parity with the software I just showed you to be able to do outdoor mapping, indoor mapping, look at your district as a whole, see all of your buildings, see all of our assets, see everything within the software all in one spot. But when just taking a look at this, Gridbase really just organizes data super well. Being a GIS company, when we do take our vertical assets, we're able to take blueprints, CAD files, drawings, anything related to your floor plans and your buildings and convert them into both 2D models and 3D models of your spaces. Then we organize the data set to show, how many rooms we have, spaces we have, floors we have, and then we organize the asset data. So you can see here we have 75 assets on North Wells High School, 12 work orders, and then attachments. So attachments actually is a big thing for districts because all that data we've talked about today becomes centralized because of our attachments functionality. We don't limit documents that can be uploaded, attach pictures, videos, warranty information, O&Ms, anything and everything related to your facility, and help create just a centralized source of truth for that data set. Within our asset management capabilities, we've revamped everything. We're able to see total assets across our district, asset health, value of assets. So we have a whole asset finance module to help show amortization, depreciation schedules. What's the value of our assets today? What's the value of our assets going to be in 3 years? We can see how assets are distributed, and we give a table view of all of our different assets. So you can modify, what data you want seen. You can filter by your location, add advanced filters, create different views. But if we jump into one of these, this is an AED, so it probably isn't super applicable for a special district, but I just want to show it as an example. We're able to track and manage very granularly all the data we want on our assets. So we can track, manufacturer and model numbers, serial numbers, financial data, warranty expiration, expected life. Our system will actually prompt you when assets are coming out of warranty or coming to expected life. We have an AI assistant that you can utilize and chat kind of with your buildings, with your data, with your work orders. It can do a lot of different things, but you could write a prompt of, what assets are coming to end of life in the next 3 months. System will be able to tell you that and pull those for you very, very easily. AI assistant can also automate workflows for you. Hey, I want Riley to go do this task on Friday. Instead of clicking buttons in normal software, you can use our AI assistant to just help automate that process and create those workflows as well. But we can track a lot of different things, even down to sustainability and carbon footprint. We can attach all of our warranty information, pictures, videos, any training docs, right? So as you think about vertical assets and the things across those buildings, how do we operate these things? How could we centralize the data? It's a true story, but district has to like kick their boiler 3 times for it to work. Um, you don't know that unless you've done it and have that institutional knowledge. And so being able to just have a video that shows that you got to kick it 3 times for it to work, and just have that attached to the asset is super valuable for the next generation of workers in your current team today. We organize all the work orders. So anything that's ever been done to this particular asset, it's right here. And then we do the history log of the asset as well. I want to show really quick the financial side. So if I go to train, there should be a train chiller in here. And so we have some financial analytics to just kind of show the depreciation schedules and replacement dates and cost analysis and end of life values and all that as well. So super valuable for high value assets. So you want to keep track of that, be able to pull the reports. When you go to your board and say, hey, we need to replace these things with capital planning, you have the data now to support all that. So that's the asset management side, maintenance side. Basically, anything you need to do from a maintenance standpoint, we connect it back to the assets and back to the map. You can see different trends and analytics of how your team's doing, but you can create work orders very easily. one-time work orders, recurring work orders, inspection plans, preventative maintenance, all from our software. So if we wanted to, to do this, oh, it looks like my mouse literally just died. Um, that's great. Let me plug it in, see if I have a cord. Hopefully I got a cord here. Yep, I do. Sorry. Um, all right, allow. All right, so let's say we want to do a monthly inspection on our AED. We can do that. You can assign it out to a group or an owner. Same type of concepts as the last platform. You can make it recurring, right? So if we want to do this monthly, on the first, we can set up a schedule system. Will automate and remind you. We have different views to showcase all that as well. So you have a calendar view to see kind of like everything that's coming up, what's happening, be able to get that data very easily to just kind of see what's happening and coming up. Jumping into the map viewer, when it comes to vertical assets, this is where a lot of districts really like the software alongside of the automations and things that we've built. But being able to just create 2D and 3D models of your buildings, where everything's located. Our system can handle a lot of different things from objects. You can see we have like a stage in here. It can handle stairs, elevators, desks, different treatment facility things that you'd want to track and visually see. And then we were able to, locate where all of our critical assets are. So,
Hey, Derek,
yep, go
can
ahead.
you set priorities on your work orders?
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. So everything's prioritized. We have automations built where, let's say you have a constituent that submits something, you can have that auto routed, auto create work orders. Again, we want to help remove the friction that a lot of systems have in place by just utilizing automations and understanding your data set and your workflows and how you operate as a team to just create more efficiencies. Our goal is if software needs to help you do your job better, if it becomes clunky and it's hard to use, it's going to be a preventative measure for you to do your job. And so we've built a bunch of automations and things within the software to just help you get some time back every day and not have to worry about these things, right? You schedule your PM schedule, the system will just take care of it all, auto routing of things, set up priorities, set up groupings within the maintenance side of the software.
And I may have missed, there was a different question. I'm not sure if you answered it, but what is the GIS mapping service Gridbase built on? Did you already answer
Uh, I did not. So we use several different technologies,
that?
from Mapbox to Google to several others from the underlying. From like this system is all built off of several technologies. Every asset has latitude, longitude, right? So you can export data, import data, standard GIS file formats of shape files, import CSV files, export CSV files with all your data. And then Gridbase is using a lot of technologies that we've built and developed to get your 2D and then 3D models and transforming that into these models from static data. So we actually have some AI, computer vision stuff coming that you'll actually be able to just come to our site, upload your file, and it'll transform it into the interactive model that you're seeing today just automatically. So really excited about some of the things that we're working on and building and what's coming here.
And I think one of the things that's helpful with this kind of information is how you communicate with your board.
Yeah.
I know in previous work I've done, we were very reactive to a board member saying, "Oh, you go fix this and go fix that." And we didn't have like a package to go back and say, "This is our plan. This is why. This is when it'll get done." Once we figured that out, you could tell the board member that is on the list. Here it is. This is when we're going to do it. And they say, "Oh, okay, great."
Yeah.
So that really helped pulling this kind of information together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I answered, Lenny. So I'm seeing your questions now that I'm not sharing. So yeah, you can set priorities on work orders. Like I said, a lot of this is automated and is really designed to be a modern solution for working inside the way your team works today versus a lot of these systems were developed 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and they just don't work well with how teams work today. And so we've revamped everything from our legacy platform with Gridbase to really build the maintenance, inventory, inspections, asset management, everything that the system does to meet the modern day workforce. Because times are changing, right? The new generation of workers are going to want software that they're used to, modern day apps that they're used to, workflows that they're used to. And so we've been able to build all that out with Gridbase. And like I mentioned, in the not so distant future, when I say that, it's the next month, couple of months, we'll have all of our outdoor mapping capabilities to track everything outdoors. We do it to a certain degree now, but I'll just show this real quick. So like you can actually change the base map views within here too, and go to satellite view. You can see that we track things outdoors. Everything's layer based as well, so you can track things outside. We're tracking reunification zones here, but AEDs outside, lines, points, gas lines coming into buildings, water lines, water shutoffs, all that. So when we show this, we're really like, you think about a district and how we're seeing this moving forward is we'll set up the district, the boundaries of the district, so you can see all of our floor plans, all of our buildings, but then see all of our lines, right? Really converging both indoor and outdoor GIS into one system. So you don't have to have multiple systems to do it, right? With all the modern day work flows and processes built into the software to accommodate the way your team works today with maintenance and inspections and everything that I talked about. So really, really excited about the outdoor capabilities. Um, we're working on it every day, and that'll be coming here very, very, very soon. Um, Lenice, any other questions from your standpoint or things that I could touch on? Or I can't hear you or see you, which is the hard part about these. So if not, that is absolutely okay as well.
And obviously, you know, you you said I'll keep the questions coming. Obviously, you can call Derek and Riley anytime. Are you gonna Derek, are you guys gonna be at the Utah conference?
I'm not
November?
sure. When is that in November?
It's in
I'm not sure if I'll be
November.
at the Utah conference or not, but we'll have Riley look into that.
Yeah, because maybe you could meet in person if
Yeah,
Lenice is going.
yeah, that'd be great. All right, for Lenice and others, to kind of close this out here, I want to just give just a practical path forward. Lenice, you already have your GIS data, but those who, might be at a different spot, different journey, just really wanted to give a couple of steps and things to think about. So, most districts have disparate data or legacy systems that don't work well or knowledge about their critical infrastructure in someone's head. The goal is how do we centralize that into something we can use day to day? So as you're thinking about mapping and how do we get started or how do we improve our data, the accuracy of our data, think about what's the highest risk to your district. I would start by mapping what matters most to you. Then start to capture your knowledge. So gather all your data you currently have about your district, all those spreadsheets, those emails, interview that employee that knows everything, and just document that and treat it really as succession planning and not just like this GIS effort. Then I would say get out in the field, use mobile devices, Bluetooth receivers to capture and log assets, right? Anything that's missing, anything you have questions on, add videos, add pictures, add condition notes to those particular things so you can start to improve that data set. And then keep it current. Don't just check the box that it's complete and we have maps, right? Like a map that's accurate once becomes stale and not useful. And so tie everything together, make it part of your day-to-day workflow. Is you're looking at providers, insist on open mobile data. You want mobile technology nowadays for asset management, for mapping, for work orders, for all your maintenance, for inventory control. You want all that to be mobile accessible. So look at solutions that can help you do that out in the field. One thing I will say too is own your own data. We're very open about this at Gridbase. It's in all of our contracts and everything. We don't own anyone's data, but there are a lot of software firms that will hold your data hostage. There are a lot of engineering firms that will hold your data hostage. Just brought on a city in Texas who was running into that issue, worked with an engineering firm for a long time, but they couldn't get the data, didn't own the data, couldn't leverage the data. And so they brought us in to help them do that exact thing so that they could own their own data. And the cost of not owning our own data was far more than the cost of our software, right? And so it became a very, very valuable thing to have a solution in software platform in place that they could just say, hey, we own our data, we maintain it, we can update it, somebody else doesn't own it. So insist on that mobile data that you own. Connect your mapping and planning together. Again, I said that's a huge, huge gap today, but with the right tools and the right data, the input produces the right output, and a lot of systems don't do that. Self, you know, plug for us, we do that. So we can help you with capital planning. We actually have a whole capital planning module that is coming this year as well that'll help you with planning 5 years, 10 years out, bond planning, all of that kind of stuff to help with your capital improvement based off your asset data and your infrastructure data and your facility data, maintenance data, all that data that you utilize every day will help drive your capital planning because there is that big of a gap. And then I'd say bring in the right partners, right? There are providers out there who specialize in mapping. And so like they can help you get going versus building from scratch. We have a whole team here that'll do digitization. It's not a lot of companies out there that'll sit with as-builts and take that and digitize that, get more data into the system. So there are partners there to help you with centralizing your data, migrating data from a solution or from spreadsheets or from PDFs into one solution and helping with that digitization. So just a quick start guide, document your data, use technology to create visibility, work within that, have it be part of your workflow, and make sure you keep a living record of your district so your maps don't become stale. Any questions? Happy to field them. Otherwise, here's our my contact information. Love to talk with any of you. We do customized demos based off of, what you're dealing with, what solutions are you using. If you're using a software platform, great. My question is, does it work as well as it should? Are you paying too much for that? Are typically questions that we talk with districts and counties and cities all over the country because there are a lot of other platforms out there that don't work very well and they're charging you way too much for software that we can provide. So would love the chance to connect. You can shoot me an email at derek@gridbase.ai. Find me on LinkedIn, but would love the chance to connect with all of you. So thanks for the time.
Lenise had another question. Is Gridbase hosted on premium cloud?
Yeah, we're not on-prem. Everything's cloud-based, just for
Oh, I see.
accessibility and just better security, better performance. So scalability, we leverage the cloud, and that's what most districts are hoping to move to if they're not already utilizing some cloud-based platform.
Hmm. Good. Well, thank you so much. And I really recommend folks in California and Colorado who might watch this in the next few weeks stop by and meet Derek and the team at your annual conferences this year. I know they're going to be there, and maybe Utah, giving a plug. So I just wanted to thank you. I don't see any other questions. And again, please reach out to Derek and Riley because this definitely warrants further conversation so you can start building this into your operations.
Yeah,
So from NSDA, thank you very much, Derek and Riley.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
good.
Lenise, thanks for all the questions. I see that you're utilizing our friends over at Streamline, their website, and their platform over there. So that's really great to see as well. So,
Yeah,
yeah, look
two
forward to
great
connecting with you
companies.
all.
Yeah, both of you are such supportive companies. It's one of the reasons we really appreciate your support and helping really the industry of special districts around the country. We're all building this together. And I mean, I really, really appreciate what you're doing for special districts. So thank you.
Yeah, great. Well,
Okay.
thanks for having us today.
Yep.
Appreciate it. I hope everyone has a great day, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks so much.
Okay, bye. Have a good one.
Bye.